I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Wanna put it all together, this is big things. Doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real, this life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream, all the dudes yell. This is just what I do and I do it well. With the flow fresher than the new shoe smell. Going through hell, but homie keep going. You know the saying, you can reap what you sow in. So I don't chase girls, I just chase dreams. Play the same game, but we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Robbie 2016. Like a phone to die, put me in charge. I'm a general, from the front I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as heaven.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank powered by Celsius Beverage. If this is your first time tuning in, you catch all these amazing episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. This is the podcast where we collaborate with the Florida Atlantic University, their Adams Center for Entrepreneurships, and we really find the do's and don'ts of running a business. I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Roland Kidwell. Dr. Roland Kidwell, what is happening at FAU right now? What should we know?
Good
Parking lots are empty.
afternoon. Well, next week, I'm told there's an exciting week of pitches with our students and Tech Runway folks, as well as our veterans program. So next week, we'll have the collegiate track. We'll have at the Florida Venture Forum up in Orlando. We'll have some students pitching and some early stage companies pitching for investors. And then at the Vets Expo in Tampa, we have two finalists who could get an award of 10 grand for their new ventures. And these are individuals who've been through the Florida Veterans Entrepreneurship Program here at Florida Atlantic. And there is a startup cohort forming. If you can zero in on that QR code very quickly and copy it, if you'd like to sign up, this is a program for military veterans who are starting businesses, who want to grow businesses, and they go through the Florida Atlantic Entrepreneur Boot Camp. So those are the two exciting things going on. And in honor of our guest today, I brought a copy of my book called Dysfunction and Deviance Across Family Firms, Varying Reflections on the Dark Side. I will not get to this, I'm sure, but I'll just put it up here just in case anybody would like to see that.
Roland's going to autograph that for you
Ooh,
today, Bob.
yes.
This is special.
I got to
Never
add it
seen
to
him bring
my
a book in.
Yeah, I got another one coming out too on overcoming conflict and dysfunction in family firms. That's a case book about 19 cases from around the world and how these family businesses were able to overcome issues. Some of them did anyway, overcome issues.
So before we get into our guest today, Roland, can you just chat about if people run a family business, what is out there for people? Because often I bump into a lot of entrepreneurs and they typically just do not fit in these typical BNI networking groups and they feel a little lost. And FAU has some programs here, but what are some recommendations to those folks that are part of family businesses?
Well, we have the Family Firm Initiative here at FAU. There are a variety of programs nationally they can get engaged in. Family Firm Institute is one. There are other places they can find research online that's kind of put into practitioner orientation. There is a website called familybusiness.org. And then we have a local organization here that we might be talking about a little bit later on, where next generation, the successors potentially can get involved and kind of talk to each other. So that's something I'll let Bob talk about maybe a little bit as we get into this. But there are a lot of options, and a lot of this though is kind of connecting with us here at the FAU. I'm happy to talk to any family firms, any family businesses. We do research. We try to engage in the practitioner orientation, but there's a lot out there. It takes a little time to find it, but it's there. And then a lot of it's on the internet. Locally here, we have the one group that we'll talk about here shortly.
Great.
Let's get into our guest today. We got Bob Lafferty in the Shrimp Tank studio today. He's the CEO of HYTECH 24/7. And I'm close with Bob. We're in a networking group together. So we are going to jump into family business today and talk a lot about running, his business and just these groups that we were just mentioning. So Bob, welcome to the Shrimp Tank today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Just tell us about HYTECH. What's it all about?
Sure. Yeah. Well, happy to be here after. I know we've been talking for a couple of years now. I've been wanting to come on with you and do this, and there's been a lot of changes at HYTECH and our business, our new one, our new venture, our residential line, myhvacsecurity.com. But let me give you the synopsis of what's going on at HYTECH. HYTECH 24/7 is our commercial thermostat monitoring company. We're 24/7. We monitor equipment across the United States for commercial clients all over the place. A lot of them are in Nashville, Tennessee. We have some in Texas, some in Arizona, right? Georgia, Florida. They're kind of all over. And when we originally started our business, it was actually tucked inside of my family business, right? And so we can get into that definitely rolling. And so here locally in South Florida, we have this company called Hill York Air Conditioning. We're actually Florida's first air conditioning company in 1936. Started by some guys down in Miami, but then my two great grandfathers ended up taking it over and running it and going from there. And so it was in my family for a little over 80 years, right? And so it was really cool. And so the story of how HYTECH really came to be is kind of a cool kind of like scenario, is that my father, who's he retired now, enjoying, he's probably on the golf course as we speak, but he was running our family business, Hill York. And one summer, my cousin and I, who worked for the business and we're going up through the ranks of the business, he came to us and he said, I think we should be monitoring HVAC equipment through thermostats. And we're like, huh? What are you talking about, man? Like you got some crazy ideas. And he said, I want you guys to go off and build it and figure it out. So my cousin and I, we went off and we started just kind of looking at different things while also doing our normal job day to day. And my dad would pop in every once in a while and be like, hey, have you figured it out yet? Right? Dad, it's been 4 days. Right. Like, and he wanted answers. Right. And he just was like, hey, let's get it done. He got some more people involved in the business. We started really kind of pumping it out. And then he came to us one day, still going through the thing. And I mean, we talked to the big air conditioning thermostat companies out there, like the Nest of the world, the Honeywells, right? We talked to them. Hey,
was that the start of it?
That was the start of it. Yeah.
2015. And you saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah. So my dad really saw that and he said, you know what, we should be doing it, but we shouldn't have to spend a gazillion dollars to get this data, right? And there's ways to get the data in the palm of our hands and in our consumers' hands that isn't going to cost a fortune. And so he really went through and we went through it. And then he came to us and a few months in, he said, all right, so I sold it to a customer. We said, well, Dad, we haven't figured it out yet. Like, we're not 100% ready. And he said, well, you got 30 days. Right. And so it really kind of put the fire under us. And so we found the device, that we really loved. And we partnered with a company and they're based out of Texas. And we have been with them for years, right? Since 2015, right? They've been great partners of ours. And so we were doing that inside of Hill York and we were monitoring equipment and we were notifying our customers and having this opportunity to really come to our customers with a different offering that anybody else had, right? It was the first to market, right? First to do what we were doing, right? And so people they wanted to do it, but they also were like, what is this, right? Like they weren't used to it. It was like the new thing. And so what's interesting is that everybody talks about IoT, the Internet of Things, right? And the different industries out there. And the HVAC world was really the last market to go into the IoT world, right? You had the electrical, you had people controlling it, Lutron, Crestron, those type of situations, right? Plumbing, you had when your water was leaking, you get a notification, you turn your water off. My dad had it at his house, right? Air conditioning didn't really have it. And so building this program and trying to get people to really understand it, right, was really kind of hard.
Can you talk about your frustrations? Because
sure.
Even like my app, Owl, right? That's exactly what I'm going through. And it makes perfect sense to you. You're like, everyone should be purchasing this.
Correct.
And then they're just they're overwhelmed and they just pretty much say, come back next year. Right.
Correct. So we're going to back up a little bit. What is it?
Yeah. So it's a smart thermostat, right? A smart thermostat with simple sensors, right?
Okay.
At the end of the day, right? So just like you have a thermostat on your wall at your house or you have a thermostat on your wall at your office, right? We have our thermostat right, with sensors, and we charge a small monthly fee to monitor it for you and send you notifications of when you should do service,
Okay.
right? Instead of wait for you to show up at your office today, you walk in, it's hot, right? And you say, oh, it's hot. I got to call my HVAC guy. I got to deal with a problem, get on his queue. Hopefully he can be here today. Maybe he's come tomorrow or another day. Most people, right, on the residential side, and this is how my HVAC security came to be, is that they come home from work, right? And they realize my AC is not working at my house, right? And so they don't want to sleep in heat, right? They don't want to deal with that. So if they could be notified a couple of days in advance, their unit's starting to trend downwards,
Oh, okay.
right? And start to say like, hey, we have this problem, right? They can schedule that service call maybe a couple of days out.
And are these mainly industrial customers now, or are they resident, or are they both?
No, so our high tech, we really focus on our industrial commercial side, right? And we have a device for them, right? It's a little bit more robust, has a little bit added abilities of sensors that we can add, energy monitoring, lighting controls, really kind of get into like, if you had like refrigerators that you wanted us to monitor this refrigeration temp, we could do that as well, right? And so I have a commercial product. And then we realized that like that commercial product, it's a great product. It's the workhorse, you know, but like it doesn't have the real kind of like look and sleekness that a residential thermostat has, right? And so it's actually small world, crazy story is my father's neighbor during COVID, we were talking, right? And I said, what do you do? And he said, well, I have this lighting control company, right? And you know what? I just built a thermostat because it wasn't communicating to these lighting controls that we have for these monster homes like Jupiter Island homes, right? And so I said, what? You have a thermostat, right? What are the odds that my dad, who has a thermostat company, and his neighbor also has a thermostat company, right? And so I started working with him, and I said, I really need this device as a residential arm of my company. And so I've worked with him for the many years. We're almost at 2 years now, and it is really cool to kind of see the stuff that they're pushing out, right, and that they're creating, right. And so we've partnered with them, and we have our own product, we have our own platform and analytics and data that we know the residential company really needs, and so or the residential consumer really needs, that company. And so, but we needed to get it in the palm of the hands, right, residentially. But we knew that a lot of our customers on the commercial end, they're buying 50 to 100 at a time, right, for all their properties, all their different things, right. Because of the robustness of that equipment and what they need, right, the equipment's a little bit more expensive, right, on the commercial side. And when I've talked to some of my friends and different people in the area, they're like, I would really love this in my house, but it's too expensive, right? Like, how can I get it, right? And how can I put it in my house? But at the same time, I want something that looks a little more sleeker. I want something that doesn't kind of pop up in your face, you know, kind of thing. And so that was partnering with our company, our residential line, and that's how my HVAC security really came to be. And so on our residential line, we charge $16.99 a month, right? You get all the equipment, you get all the monitoring, you get everything, right? It's really a lease of the program, right? You can keep it for 2 months, and if you hate it, right, send it right back. I'll send it a shipping label, right? But I know that you won't hate it. So
basically, you're
right.
going to tell me when my water's backing up in my
Correct.
HVAC,
Yeah.
and when I haven't put my vinegar in and gotten the line out.
Correct.
That's
Exactly.
what you're
Yeah.
gonna be doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll get notifications, simple notifications, time to change your filter, right? Time
I
to
forgot about that one.
right.
Never get those
Filter's a big one, right? And a
notifications.
lot of people forget about that. And so flush your drain line, exactly, right? When to put flush the line. Some people will do it themselves. Some people call an HVAC technician to do that, right? Whatever you're comfortable with. The big one that we've really built is unit is inefficient, right? It's not cooling how it should be cooling. It's still probably going to cool your space. It's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to cost you a little bit more energy, right? And so that's the one where you should be like, hey, I'm starting to have a problem, right? So that's when I should call my service provider to come out and service the unit. And here's the problem.
Okay.
The problem that our industry really had is that you get this really informed data, and the data is understand people in the HVAC world, the mechanical contractors, right? They understand that data, right? They get it. They're like, all right, I know what to do with this. I know what to do with that. You put it in the general, like, everyday user's hands, they're like, I have no clue what that means. Does that mean I need a technician? Does it not mean I need a technician?
Well, it's like an iPhone.
What do
right?
I do?
We don't
Right.
really care how it all works underneath the
Correct.
phone. We
Yeah.
don't care it's
Right.
what type of chip. We just want to know that they could take pictures.
Correct.
We could send text messages. We don't care how
Right.
complex it is under the hood. So I completely understand where
Right.
you're coming from.
And what's crazy about it though is that, like, HVAC is such a crucial part of everybody's life, especially in the United States, right? Whether it be cooling or heating, right? And so, and the different seasons and the different things. I know in Europe and all that, they may just have heaters, right, in certain parts of the world, you know, and so the thing is that, like, but when it's cold, they want it to be warm, right? And so, like, it's a big priority for a lot of people, and so we knew that people needed what we have to provide. But the problem though is that they didn't understand what they were looking at, right? And there's a lot of these thermostats out there, and there's a lot of these things you can buy on Amazon and at Home Depot and all those type of things, and you can buy them. But the thing is that the alerts that you're going to get from them, you're not going to understand. You're not sure if you need that service call. And so what we did is we took our information, being in the HVAC world, I'm fourth generation, you know, and so being through it, we know what you need to know, right? And we had to change it into the kind of that layman's terms, right? And so every single one of the alerts that comes from us comes with a recommendation. It's 3-4 sentences long. If you don't want to read that recommendation, there's a little box to the left. It's a video. I'm the guy on the screen, right? Like, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do in the video, right?
So going back to Jason's point,
Yeah.
how did you sell this? How did you?
Sure. Yeah. So on the commercial end, right, we went to our clients inside of Hill York, right, and we sold it, and we had sold thousands of them in Florida, right, and we had a lot of clients that, like, really adopted it, right, and they really understood that, like, the hardest part was getting somebody to believe that it works, right, because you're the new guy in the space, right, you're like trying to, like, tell them, like, hey, trust the data, trust the data, trust the data. And people want to trust data, but people don't want to trust data until they have a problem, right? Is what we've realized. And so we put it into people's places, right? And we call them and say, hey, your unit is starting to fail. It's time to do service. And they're like, nah, I'm not going to do it, right? And then 3 days later, Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, they'd call us and say, my unit's down. I need a guy. I say, well, I told you that on Tuesday, right? Now I can send a guy, but working in the family business that had service technicians, right? Send a guy at 4 o'clock on a Friday, price tag is a double, triple, quadruple, right? Sometimes, right? Hoping that the guy has that part on his truck and doesn't have to order anything, right? And so people started to trust the data, right? And started to understand that when you say, I need to send a truck to fix your unit, right? The data is where I'm getting that information from, right? Not just me trying to create a service call for our business. And so when Hill York was going through its transition of selling to a major publicly traded company, right, we took this entity that was inside of Hill York and created HYTECH 24/7, right? Everybody asks us, how do you come up with the name HYTECH, right? Everybody thinks it's Hill York Tech. Okay, it's kind of cool, right? That's not necessarily how it came to be, right? We went and we threw out different names stuck on the wall, right? But what we really loved is HYTECH was available. 247.com, right? That was available. That's a great name, right? Nobody else had it, right? And HYTECH, we're really like the hybrid technology, right? And so, like, it was not that super expensive thing, but you can still put very informed decisions in the palm of people's hands, right? And so our vision was really called leading the new tech, right? The new technology, but leading the new technician as well, right? So the technician to be able to see the data.
So you have, well, I notice you have licensees. Now, how do you grow this business? Do you go to air conditioning companies in various towns and put this,
Correct.
have them
yeah.
sell it? They're the tech, you connect with them?
Correct. Yeah. So HYTECH 24/7 is a B2B business, right? So knowing that we did it inside of Hill York and created great opportunity and great partnerships with our end users at the end of the day, right? We were able to use Hill York as kind of our example, right? Or case study, you'd say, right? And started to go after these HVAC companies, right, across the United States. And fortunately, my father and my grandfather they're kind of part of peer groups across the United States, and they don't compete against each other, and but they are in the same kind of space, right, in different parts of the country. So we took it to them and we said, here's the idea, this is what you guys should be doing. Let's license it to you. Let's partner with you. And a few of them said, let's do it, right? And so I have licensees, right, with some of those guys, and they are phenomenal partners of mine, right? And they've been with me since 2018, right, when this whole deal went down, and I couldn't be happier, right? We thought in the beginning we were going to sell. This is the best thing since sliced bread, right? And we thought this was going to explode, right? And because we could see it in the South Florida market exploding, right? And so we needed it to explode across the United States because, of course, who doesn't want their company to get bigger, right? And so we started going through this process, 2018, really end of 18, beginning of 19, with our customers. And the thing is that we would license it to an air conditioning company, and then they would bring it on, right? And they'd really give us a liaison at their company that we talked to. And then they would tell their sales guys, we would train the sales guys, send them videos, or we'd come and sometimes even go to their office and train them in person and say, here's how you promote it. Here's how you sell it. Here's how you go about it. Right. And so their sales team they would go out freely and try and sell this product. They couldn't sell the other thing. Right. And the other thing was a preventive maintenance agreement. Right. And so one of the things is that in a commercial setting and in residential setting, every air conditioning company is going to try and sell you a preventive maintenance agreement. The thing about a preventive maintenance agreement is they're going to come out once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year, 4 times a year, whatever you want as a consumer, right? And they're going to change your filter. They're going to flush your drain line. And they're going to check your pressures and gauges, visibly look at the unit and make sure it's okay, right? If they come on Monday, their job's done, right? They leave, it's working. Tuesday, that unit fails, you pay for that service call, right? But then you have to have the headache of arguing with your HVAC company. Well, you were just here yesterday. And it's like, well, the thing that broke wasn't, and it was all working when I left, right? And then you have to pay that extra service call. And so we're trying to convert people to get away from that preventative maintenance agreement, which is like the no that you say to an air conditioning owner of a company, right? Because most of these are not publicly traded companies. These are big, or even sometimes small air conditioning companies. Like there's got to be 5,000 registered.
It's a revenue stream for them.
It's a revenue stream. It's a recurring revenue stream for them, right? They can come out there, but they're also getting the service. But the problem though is that they get there's a big competition in the area, right? And so there's 5,000 air conditioning companies in Broward County alone. 5,000, right? That could be one guy, right, in his truck, right? And that's the registered ones, right? Like there's going to be guys out there that are just going to do the work, right? And they're not going to be registered or licensed and all that kind of stuff. And you can't really battle them. The problem with us is, and Hill York had at 1.3, maybe 400 technicians, right? It's a very large company. And our price point wasn't the cheapest, right? And so you had to be able to provide excellent service, right, at all times, right? And if you're not the cheapest, right, there's going to be somebody else. We'd go to customers and they'd say, we really love what you got. We love your team. You have the greatest team. You can get us equipment fast, right? But I have this other guy who's half the price hourly. And you just can't really win against that, right? Until that guy breaks it, and then they want somebody to come in and fix it, right? And then we'd come in and fix it every once in a while, right? And so the thing is that trying to make it make sense for a consumer to do it, right, is we had to say, get rid of your preventative maintenance agreement, right? And only do service when needed, not when the calendar dictated it. And when we say the calendar dictated it in the HVAC world, coming from the HVAC contractor world, is these preventive maintenance agreements, right? They're going to come out. I'm going to tell you, they're going to come out in November, right? And April, right? Those are their 6-month kind of things, right? Because they want that unit to fail May, June, July, and August when it's hot and when you'll pay the big dollars, right? That's the thing, right? So they'll schedule it when it on the calendar, when it's good for them, when they need to send a guy out, need to do a thing, right? But at the end of the day, they want that service call. They want that unit replacement. They want all that pull through work, right? And so that was kind of one of the things that we said, don't do this maintenance agreement with us.
Now, are these licensees, you're getting a piece of this and they're getting
No.
a piece of, no.
No, so I don't get a piece of the pull through work or any of that kind of stuff, right? And which is we call it pull through work,
I mean,
the
from the
service
unit,
calls or the
I mean, from the unit, the monthly charge.
correct. So like what we do is we license our program and our platform, right, to air conditioning companies, and then they resell it to their end users. I do all the monitoring on the back end, our team does, right? And we do all the monitoring. We notify the HVAC company, say, Mrs. Smith's house has this problem.
Okay.
You should talk to Mrs. Smith. And then they call Mrs. Smith and say, hey, you have this problem. We should come out and service it. And they go and service it.
So you basically invented this product.
Correct. Yeah. The model, you invented the model, right? Of where we do all the monitoring for you, give you the informed decision or the informed data, right? To where therefore you still have to go out and do a little bit of selling, right? To get your service work, right? On the commercial side. So we did that for inside Hill York for 4 years, right? Then we licensed it to these air conditioning companies, and it takes time to get enough customers up, right? But then it started to turn into like, we're producing millions of dollars worth of pull through work for some of these HVAC companies, right? Once they get to scale and get a lot of these units up on the wall, where we kind of fell into a little bit of an issue, and this is kind of how my HVAC security came to be, is COVID hit, right? And so our platform and our model was license it to air conditioning companies, and they're going to sell it to their commercial clients. Well, the problem with having commercial clients is that those commercial clients have to be at their office. They have to be at their work. They have to be at their job. So during COVID, when everybody was working from home, right, those people would set their thermostat up to 78 and they wouldn't show back up for 8 months, right? Maybe they pop in once in a while, clean it, right? That's about it. But everybody was working from home. So our business took a big hit, really big hit, right? And so at one point we were like, do we continue, right? Is this the right thing to do, right? But one of the things for me is that, and I have great partners and I have great people with us, right? We pivoted, right? And I said, you know what? I've sold you something, right? I'm gonna stick to it. I'm not gonna leave you and your other clients high and dry, right? We're gonna pump through. We're gonna make our changes, how we have to make our changes internally, right? Really made us look kind of into our team, right? We're spending some money on stuff we probably shouldn't have been spending money on, right? Everybody's reanalyzing, right? I had clients that really wanted it for their properties, but they said, I can't pay it. It's a luxury product, right? I'd rather pay my employees. And I get it, right? I completely understand, right? I want to pay my employees as well, right? And so we had to go through it all, right? And it was a tough time for us, but in that process, right, I learned a lot. One, I started getting involved in more parts of the business, right? At that time, it was my dad, my cousin, and myself, right? And a couple other consultants and finance guys and some other analytical guys, right, on the team. So do we need all this, right? Is this how it should be, right? My dad was retired, right? He had just sold the family business and he was enjoying traveling with our family and those types of things. It was also COVID, so we were like kind of just like stuck together, right? Fortunately for us, my dad had a lake house in Lake Placid, Florida. And so we spent our time there, right? And we really talked a lot of business. We really tried to figure it all out, right? And what ended up was cool about that is that we started to realize that my dad really loved being retired, right? And we talked a lot of business stuff, and he really liked it. He liked to be involved, right? But he didn't need to be the CEO anymore. And we ended up coming to an agreement, and I ended up taking over the CEO role. Purchased the majority of the business, right? And so he's still a great partner. He's still one of my partners, right? And he's awesome, right? And but he has the knowledge, right? He is a professional engineer, right?
So would you say,
Yeah.
just to interrupt, I'm sorry, but
Sure.
would you say you were an entrepreneur before this, or what did you learn about being an entrepreneur in this process? Because you're an engineer, right?
No, I'm not an engineer.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Okay.
So actually what's crazy is that like since we had the family business, right? I knew that I was gonna one day want to take over the family business, right? That was the dream, right? I grew my whole entire life since I was 12 years old, 13, whatever the legal age was, right, to work, right? summers I'd be at the office. I'd be doing it, right? I'd be learning the different sides of it. And my dad was an engineer. My grandpa was an engineer. His father's an engineer, right? I couldn't get past calculus,
Oh.
right? Just wasn't my thing, right? And so I said, how else can I do this? And my dad said, you know what, a business degree would be good, right? You can't come work for the family business unless you have a degree, right? That's a rule, right? And in the beginning, I was like, nah. I was like, I'm going to learn way more hands-on. I'm going to learn a lot of more really cool stuff, right? And then I went to UCF for 2 years, right? I had a great time there and started working over the summers with the family business. And my dad said, you know, you can get this degree here in Fort Lauderdale, right? At Broward College. Why don't you just stay?
Not as much fun.
Right. Not as much fun. That's very true. Not as much fun, right? And my parents will say I had a lot of fun in college. I will tell you, I had a lot of fun in college at UCF. But working for the family business, making money, right? Also going to school at Broward College, right? Which is, I went to a Broward College / FAU campus, right? So, so having the connection here, right? Being a South Florida boy, right? Like I know FAU very well. And so I worked for the family business and I transitioned right into the family business. And it was a lot. It was really cool. I learned a lot of hands-on, right? But I also learned that there's a lot of things that you learn in college, right? That you need, especially when you start running your own business, right? And being the entrepreneur. And so what ends up happening is that we used to have teams of people in the HR department and teams in the finance side and all that stuff. So you didn't have to worry about those type of things because they got handled, right? And there's a team and there's a leader and you talk to the leader, right? When I took over with the HYTECH 24/7, I became the leader in all those aspects because our team was small, right? And so I learned a lot, right? And so being that entrepreneur, sometimes one of the things my dad always taught me is that it's always good to have partners, but it's the partners that you have that make or break a company.
They come in
right?
with the different skill sets.
Correct. Right. So you need to be able to trust people that they're going to do their job. You're not going to be the best at everything. Right. And so your partners are the people who are going to help you through the process. Right. Because even though you may be the guy with the idea, right, it takes people to execute the idea. Unless you want to do it by yourself, but it'll take forever. Right. So there's people who have learned so much over the years. And so my dad being an engineer for 30 years, right, me doing the business side of things, right, and then coming in, it was really kind of fun though, because when I graduated from college, I said, all right, I'm just going to go work for the family business. My dad said, no.
How many years was that before you launched this?
Before we launched this company, so I started at Hill York in 2012.
Okay.
And then we started this kind of thermostat thing in 2015.
And then you went off.
And then we went off
and
and separated 2018.
Okay. Yeah. That happens a lot in family firms where you do have a situation where they talk about survival rates of family business.
Correct.
It's the 30, then it's 10, and then it's
Right.
less.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
Time. And I think a lot of what's not recognized is a lot of new businesses are formed.
Right.
Exactly like this.
Exactly.
Out of a family business that is no longer a family business, but
Correct.
now you have birthed another one.
Correct. Exactly. And what's crazy though is that like Hill York was in the family for 80 something plus years, right? And I had planned on taking over that business, right? But when the biggest fish in the industry, right, and in the industry, right, comes to you and says, "We really like what you're doing. We want you," right? It's almost impossible to say no to, right? Especially when they come dangling this really awesome thing in front of you, right? And so my father, CEO at the time, right, we had just started HYTECH, right, and he came to me and he said, "Hey, you know what?" He said, we need to have a meeting. Like it had been a few months since we started HYTECH. I just left the family business to start HYTECH, right? Family business that's still in. He said, so there's this opportunity for us to sell the business. And at first I was like, no, right? Like, this is my baby, right? I've been here for so long, right? And he said, well, I don't think you're going to understand how much this is going to bless our family and the people around us. When he said that, right, I said, you know what? If it's the right thing to do, right? I trust you, right? Go for it, right? It's the right thing to do, right? I will tell you there, I had some fingers crossed, right? Because I've always wanted to be that guy, but I also knew that if it went through, right, it would be the best thing for us and our family. And it was, and it is, right? And so like, what's great about that is one, I get a lot more time with my family, right? There's a lot of great opportunities that I get to spend with them that before when we were working, right? Now we can play, we can enjoy, right? And that kind of stuff. But then also I have my dad and I have more of his time, right? So time with your dad is crucial, right? And so like, but he's so knowledgeable in our industry, right? And he's been doing it. He's got those names and he's got those people in his Rolodex, you know, that we can call. And so doing that with him, right? And that when sometimes people won't take meetings with me, right? Because I'm 34 years old, right? It's an age thing. In this industry, right? They're like, no, right? I'm like, well, why not? They're like, well, I don't really understand technology, right? But my son does, who's going to take over the business in 20 years, you know, he's 17, right? And I have to convince him that, well, when he's ready, right? You want to give it to him where you're doing everything, where you're faxing it still, right? Like, no, you want to be in that tech world. And so when my dad comes in and he talks to those people, they're like, okay, I get it, right? But they will have that meeting because I have a guy who has more knowledge has been doing it longer than I've been alive, right? And so like people are like, okay, I understand it, right? And a lot of the times my dad will talk to the dad, right, and say, hey, this is what we're doing, or the owner or whatever it is. And then they'll come to me and they say, they'll ask some questions. My dad will be like, all right, talk to him, right? Because he knows how to do it all. He knows what he's doing,
your
right?
dad is still acting as a consultant.
Very, very much so. Yeah, yeah. So his title at the company is chairman of the board, right? So, but yeah, he's very much so, and he's meeting people, and he tends to be in that kind of circle of people that either have sold businesses. He hangs out with a lot. He plays a lot of golf, right? Those guys tend to have owned companies or still do own companies, and so we're getting meetings through like the people that he's meeting every once in a while that he goes fishing with or plays golf or whatever else it is, right? And so he's enjoying it, and he's spending a lot of time with my mom and loves that and all that kind of stuff. And so we're a big family, right? And we love to spend time with each other. We play a lot of golf,
So
right?
let's
All sorts of
dive
things.
into just different subjects overall.
Sure, let's go.
The pressure of being in a family business and being successful.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, you know, COVID hit.
Yep.
Right. And I remember you coming to meetings, and
Yeah.
I'm in a similar position right now with Owl. And it's like you have all this pressure, right?
Right.
People look up to you. You're
Correct.
the president of our networking group, for example, for
Correct.
everyone listening, and you want to make people around you proud, right? And COVID hit, and
Sure.
you're like, shit, like this was all going great.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
remember like all of us were stressed during COVID days, and we're like,
Yeah.
we all have to pivot. So just talk to
Sure.
our audience about the pressures
Yeah.
of success that you have and how you
Man.
overcome some of that
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah. So when COVID really hit, and that's a perfect question, right? And so the thing is that when COVID hit, right, we were trajectorying like this, right? We were just growing, and we're like, this is going to be the best thing ever, right? Like maybe I'll retire before my dad retires, right? Like that kind of thing, right? Hit that age, but he retired at 60, 58, right? Try and beat that number, right? And so the thing is that like we're just crushing it, right? Everything was good. COVID hit, plateau, right? And how do we save, right? How do we make this last, right? And so went to everybody, right? And we said, hey, everybody's got to take 40 to 50% salary cuts, right?
And
You ready?
that's the first time you've done that, right? Like
First time.
you had
and
to
like
go in,
ugh.
right? It's one thing when you're part of a company
Yeah.
with 400 employees and there's someone that is in charge of layoffs, but now
Right.
you're running lean. Like you have to walk in
Yeah.
knowing that, someone, potentially has a spouse and kids,
Right.
and they're running through
Exactly.
tough times and make those decisions, right?
Right. Exactly. And so that was tough. Took a giant salary cut, and in order for the business to survive, right? And then
I think I remember you even sold your car.
oh my gosh, man, yeah, I sold my car. I went through some stuff, like fortunately, PPP, right? The government, like that really got us through, right? There was some times where like I was like, this is gonna fail, right? Like not that the program's gonna fail. It's just we're running low on funds, right? I think I got down to at one point, and this is I'm about to share it with everyone, but then we got down to like $9 in the bank account at one point, right? $9, right? Which is nuts. I had a bunch of receivables, right? But $9 and I had payroll rolling up, right? And so that really makes you freak out, right? Like freak out, right? Because I was very handcuffed, right, to my licensees and their sales guys, right? And so it really kind of opened my eyes and said, okay, well, I have this B2B business, right? I need these guys to pay, right? And I need them to pay now so I can make payroll, right? Ended up cutting myself a check, right? So I can make payroll, right? Money came in like the next day, which was great. Pay myself right back, right? But like the thing is that like there's a point where I was like, I already asked these people to take this salary cut, and now I'm not going to be able to pay them their salaries, right? Like, and it was just like like we didn't think that was going to happen. Somebody filed for bankruptcy, one of our clients, right? Like not a huge client, but they filed for bankruptcy, and so I wasn't getting paid, right? And they are normally the people that pay right on time, right? And so like I was like, what are like you can't plan for that, right? You don't know how somebody else's business is running, right? And so I was like, okay, like I don't want to ever have that happen again. How do I pivot, right? How do I make it so that that is not going to happen? So we decided to
Kind of
create.
like your new brand, though, in a way, like for yourself, for all
Correct.
entrepreneurs. What you're saying,
Correct.
it's like we all have now things in place to never have that happen again
Correct.
in our lives. So it's kind of interesting. That's what your new technology does.
Right. Exactly. Transition right into that. So myhvacsecurity.com really, that's how it started. So that's a D2C, right? Direct to consumer market for us, right? But my thing is that I didn't want it to hit the marketplace until it was ready, right? Until it was perfect, right? And which is a hard idea to go with, right? Perfection, right? Well, there's only one person that was perfect, it was Jesus, right? But the thing is that like it's hard to be perfect in business, right? And you go through a lot of struggles, you go through a lot of different problems. And so like for me, I thought I was going to be able to do this, build it, get it all done out to the general market 4 months. That was my goal, right? I can tell you it was not 4 months. It almost took me close to a year to get my contract done with my manufacturer, right? So that was a year. And then it took another about 7 months to really get it to exactly where I really wanted it, right? And my target goal was to launch January 1st of this year, right? And did not hit that, right? And so like missing just opportunities, right? And the thing is that when you set a date, right, you really hope you hit that date, right? But if you're not, you don't want to produce a subpar like device that's not going to work correctly, right? Because I learned through a friend of mine, 25 one-star reviews on Google will crush a business, right? Just in the beginning, right? Once you have 7,000 reviews, and 25 of them are 1 stars, not a big problem, right? But when everybody who's your consumer is going on Google or going on one of these review sites and looking up your company,
especially consumer
right?
products, because
Consumer products,
people are so quick. They don't care
Yeah.
about you, the owner.
they
They
don't
care that
care.
you put your blood,
right?
sweat, and tears into this last 3 years. They
Exactly.
don't give a crap.
Right.
They'll go on there and be
exactly.
like, it was late. The package said 2-day delivery and it came in 4 days, right? Like
Correct.
they'll
1 star.
they'll
It's
say I
nuts.
opened the box and there was a screw
Right.
missing. They won't
Right. They don't
won't
care.
make a call, be like,
Yeah.
hey, is there something missing? And they're like, actually, it is the correct. You just installed it incorrectly. And they're quick to
Right.
want money back for free.
It's
right?
never their
Quick to
problem.
be like, hey, instead of $16.99 because of this,
Yeah.
charge me $12.99. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
And they're putting up a negative review. So you have to be very,
Correct.
very careful. And also have good communication in those early days, because communication
Correct.
is key.
Exactly. And
'Cause
so
you have to put out fires.
oh my goodness. So like I will tell you, come February, I think it was 19th, I was talking to a good buddy of mine and he does marketing. I said, hey man, I'm going to launch this product April 1st. And he said, do you have this, this, and this? And I said, I have none of those. He said, don't do it. I said, and the things that he said is, do you have a good website? Right? Where the people are going to go and they're going to want to ask questions, right? He said, and they're going to have all the questions on your website and they're all answered. No, they'll just trust me because I'm good at this, right? Little mentality right there. I was like, I've done it for so long. I'll be able to convince them, but I can't talk to every consumer on the phone every single day.
This is the product for the residential.
This is the product for the residential, the myhvacsecurity.com
and
residential
you
device.
have not launched this yet?
It launched February. It launched May 3rd.
Okay.
Right. It launched for pre-order May 3rd. Everything ships June 1st. Right.
Okay.
And then come June 1st, if you order June 2nd, it should ship same day. Right.
So meanwhile, though, the commercial business picked back up.
Commercial business picked back up. Right. And the commercial business was when COVID kind of started to go away, we pivoted during COVID, right? We got very lucky. We got some big clients who were school districts, right? School districts really wanted our product in all their schools. So we would sell a lot of these school districts.
Even though no one was going to school.
Even though nobody was going to school, right? Because what happened is that the funding from the government came, right? And they wanted to prep all the schools for when students did come back, right? So these school districts really bought a lot, and they really helped us kind of get through it all. And then also there's this new thing, it's called needlepoint bipolar ionization, right? Which is, there's this device that you put in your air conditioning unit to produce millions of negatively and positively charged ions, right? And would kill COVID, right? That's what it said it would do, right? And it did. And there's tests that show that it would do that. The thing is that these little devices, the school districts would get the ability from the government, from federal government, to put them in, right? And so they want to put them in. But the problem, though, is that the sensor that would tell you how many were in your space, right, was very, very expensive, right? And fortunately, for like $1,200 for a sensor, and you'd have to have one in every room to get the reading, right? And then you have to tie it into a controls program, and it costs you a fortune. We realized that we could take that sensor and connect it to our thermostat and get all the data live, right? And so, but instead of putting one in every room and selling you that kind of thing, we created little portable boxes that you could put in the room, read live data, right? And so we started talking to these school districts. They really liked it, and they're like, well, can we just put a thermostat in every room, right? And so they started putting it in every room. And so they got in every room, but they didn't put any of the sensors in, right? Because eventually everybody went back to school, and I mean, COVID's still a thing, and I know that it's a very tough subject for a lot of people, right? But the thing is that it's like the flu, right? It's going to be around for forever, right? And you just got to be smart. And so, like, people weren't going to put millions of dollars in sensors into their schools, right? But the thermostats were something that, if you could save energy, right, and you could control a space, right, then that's something that they needed. So we have a lot of schools in Georgia, actually, that have those in there. We have some down here as well. But so that kind of helped us in our business, right? And so we went a little bit direct to consumer, right, but only on a large scale with HYTECH. And so the business started to grow, right? And then that kind of gave a little bit of freedom for us to focus on this direct consumer thing, right? And so when my HVAC security really came to be, right, I said I want people to understand what we do, right? We're a security company for your air conditioning unit, right? We're going to tell you and alert you when there's a problem, just like at your house, right? You get a notification when somebody breaks in your house, right? Or something's going wrong in your house, right? You get a notification, right? So my HVAC security, the name, that's how it all came to be, right? HYTECH 24/7, right? If I went to you tomorrow, or Joe Schmo, hey, what does HYTECH 24/7 do, right? They'd have to go Google it, right? They have to go figure it out, right? It was a really niche market, right? And so I wanted something that could really go to the general consumer. And so we created this business, and we launched May 3rd, shipping June 1st, next week, everything starts shipping, right? But going back to the reviews, right? Reviews, I didn't really think what is crucial, right, in a consumer market, because I had always been selling direct B2B. And if I had one business talk to the next business and they said, I'm making $1 million, I made $1 million last year, right, with you guys, right? That helped, right? That number normally makes people want to do something, right? But everybody else is like, I don't know, right? And so we went around, we talked to a lot of people, right? We gave a lot of equipment away, right? And we said, hey, let us know what's good, let us know what's bad, right? Tell us what it is, right? How can I make it better, right? And so talking to my friend, and my friend saying, don't launch, right? Send it out to people, let people review it, let people understand it, right? Have them talk to you privately, right? Don't have them put it right on Google review, right? Like, because that's like, that'll kill a small business, right? And consumers don't understand that every once in a while, right? But like, I just bought a house, and I was buying stuff for my house, and what ended up happening is I was talking to some friends. I said, well, what does the review say? I said, what? They said, don't buy it unless the review is over 4.5 stars.
It's true. We all do.
Right.
Anytime we go to a restaurant, first thing I do is I look at the reviews.
Correct. Exactly.
Unless it's like McDonald's, like a chain.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
It was something easy.
Like, who's leaving
right?
a review for like chain type?
They're all going to be bad.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Yeah, so we did that, and so like one of the things is that I know coming in here, right, and thank you guys for having me, and all that kind of stuff. And so I want to, for all your viewers out there, right, if they want to sign up for myhvacsecurity.com, right, we're giving away the first 3 months for free. I actually created a promo code for you guys, Shrimp Tank, right?
We'll post about it.
So we can post
Yeah,
about that, right? Exactly. If anybody wants it, right, they can have it, right? But we created it so that it's very easy to install, right? The program is a very simple, right? Connect it to the internet, right? Very simple thing, just like you connect any device. You scan a QR code, right? Yeah, you go through it and it tells you grab the internet that's already in your space, enter the password, it connects it, right? And so going through that process, right, and going through the easiness of it getting connected, and the second that you get it connected, right, you'll get a notification from us that it's connected correctly, and then you'll start to get those emails and those notifications when it's time to do service, right? And so building it all and going through it all and having all that information on your site, for consumer business is super, super important. At first, I thought they'll just scan my QR code and they'll go fill out a 20-page or 20 little blank thing, right? And they'll press enter and they'll charge a credit card, right? No, that's not how that works, right? Especially on a subscription model. And so people want to know that they're going to get it all and they're going to get the best warranty on the market. And so that was our biggest thing, right? I needed warranty to be bigger and better than any thermostat on the market. Every thermostat out on the market right now, if you go to Nest or Honeywell or whatever it is, you buy it from anywhere, right? They'll give you a 1-year warranty, limited warranty, right? With our device, right, as long as you're paying the monthly fee, right, it's covered under warranty, right? Software wise, right, if you hit it with a hammer, which people have done, right, and called and said, "Oh, can I get a new one? It's broken." I said, "How did this break?" We're hammering on the other side of the wall and it hit the back plate.
My 7-year-old took a hammer
Right.
and started going at it.
Yeah, or they have it in a gymnasium, gets hit with a dodgeball, right? And they want to know that it's going to be covered. I was like, I can't cover this, right? It's a hardware side, but software wise, if anything goes wrong, anything is, we'll send you brand new, no problem, right? And so, but covered as long as you want. And the nice thing is that instead of having you buy the equipment and pay a monthly fee and go through the whole entire procedure, right? It's a flat $16.99, shows up ready to go, right? And you can have it for 3 months, you can have it for 6 months, you can have it for 5 years, right? Whatever you want, right? There is a fee. It's based off of the Comcast cable box model, right? So, and I've been very transparent about this with all of our customers, right? Is that if you get Comcast cable, right, or whatever it is, your service provider, right, they send you the equipment, right? And then if you cancel with them, you have to send all the equipment back. Our model is the exact same way, right? You have to send it all back, right? So send it back. If you don't want it, I'll provide you the shipping label, no problem. Right. If you don't want to send it back, right, there's a breakage fee, just like Comcast charges you a fee. If you want to keep the gear for some odd reason, right, you got 60 days to send it back. That's in our fine terms, but I'd like to be transparent with it, right? And that
Why
kind of stuff.
can't they keep it and just turn off the monitoring? I guess because technically it's a thermostat, and then the sensors stop reporting data.
Correct. Yeah. Well,
still
the thing is, the
work? Will they
thermostat will still work, right? It'll still work as a normal thermostat, right? The thermostat has costs, right? And so, $16.99 is less than what it costs, right? And the monitoring and all those type of things, right, is less than what it costs. And so what we also do is that if you have our system for 5 years, right, 60 months, right, there's no breakage fee, right? There's no, if you want to cancel on month 61, right, you don't pay that breakage fee. You don't have to return the equipment, right? You own it, it's yours. That's the way it is, right? And so like, that's the way we built the program, because we want you to be our customer for life, right? And we want you to be teamed up with us. We give away, we have a lot of cool giveaways. We have a lot of things. People can be affiliates of our program, right? Our affiliate program is.
Why don't we take a break?
Let's take a break, and
Yeah.
Then we'll talk
after
about
that.
the-
That's a perfect segue
Sounds
to
good. Let's do
the
it.
next segment of the show. What's hot? So everyone listening, back in a moment.
Fastest growing community of professionals on the internet with OWL. Access new networks and otherwise unreachable professional contacts through the one-on-one call feature on the app. Scroll through the list of available professionals and join them for a quick call to build rich connections, expand invaluable relationships, and to broaden your professional landscape without needing lofty referrals. OWL. We bring vetted pros to your doorstep 24/7 on demand. Join our community by signing up at owl.com today.
It doesn't. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. This is an awesome episode with Bob. If you want to catch him one-on-one on the OWL app, he will be the featured expert next week. Just follow him, get a notification when he makes himself available, of course, and connect one-on-one and pick his brain. Okay, Bob, on this segment, it's called What's Hot.
All right, let's
So
do it.
dive into, these aroma 360s, right? You're in the AC business, right?
Right,
Everywhere
yeah.
I go now, it's another ad for aroma 360 or hotel
Right.
collection. And these scents are so nice. Are they really hot?
Yeah, so the Aroma 360s, yeah, I get the ads too, right? Like they're nuts. But it's really whatever you want to smell like, right? That's your thing,
Is it
right?
good for us?
Right.
Right?
I mean, I don't really
What do
know,
you-
right? I haven't really looked into it, right? The Aroma 360 is um and to you, Aroma 360, I just want to let you know that I haven't tested it. I have no thing, right? But like if it does smell like the one hotel in Miami, cool, thanks.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's good, right? I like to smell like the beach or sometimes a coffee shop, like that's just the
But they're
thing,
very
like
smart. They're
that's
going down the same model that you were talking
right,
about, right? They're like, okay, you could have this unit that's $500 for free,
right,
just buy the scent, right?
correct,
And it's very,
exactly,
very profitable over years. So
exactly,
let's get back to kind of the model that you're speaking about, because
sure,
a lot of your competitors don't do that, right?
right,
You go in and buy the ring, it's $200.
correct,
You go to Home Depot, you go to Costco, you go right to Amazon and get it the next day,
right,
and self installation. I put one on,
correct, yeah,
right? And you're going down a different route. Actually, the first company I started was ADT Security,
mm-hmm,
and they were all about monitoring service. That's where
correct,
all the money was. And then they would,
correct,
you could buy one through the corporate lane, or then they had the subcontractors where authorized dealers, right, would install the
correct,
ADT systems. And everything that you're speaking to just reminds me of ADT, which we're in our backyard, which is funny,
right.
Boca Raton, and such a profitable business. So what is hot about recurring revenue
Sure.
versus like the upfront,
Okay,
get your money and
yeah,
and,
so,
and
so
be
so
done?
let me give you a little bit of information, HVAC market, and this is how I um learned about it, right? Is that there's a lot of different air conditioning thermostats on the market, Nest, all those things, and there's a lot of different licensed providers in the area, right? There's a statistic that I ran by with a friend of mine who's in the air conditioning world, is that the majority of your thermostats, right, your smart thermostats, are bought off Amazon or Home Depot or whatever it is. Taking those thermostats, they're all being installed by themselves, right, at home after work or on the weekends, right? If you skip one or two of those instruction steps, right, you can fry a unit, right? And then all of a sudden you got to call an HVAC company to come out and service the unit, right? And so the problem though is that what people don't do is they think that they know what to do, right? They think what it is. And these service providers love to be licensed providers because they're going to get that call when you type in Nest provider in my area, right? And then they're going to come out and service the unit because you popped a 10-cent fuse that you can't fix on your own, right? Because you have no clue what you just did, or you touched some live wire to another live wire, right? And so like what's crazy is that like in the recurring world for us, right? Everybody wants to be in the recurring world, right? Because that's where the money is, right? And so the thing is that like recurring is great, but you also have to deal with like the problems, right? And the problems is that I'm providing a device that could cost thousands of dollars, right, at a small monthly fee, right? And so the thing is that it takes time to recoup that.
So why not partner with brands like ADT Security, right? They're in the
Okay.
monitoring service
Yeah.
already, and I could just sense, like, they're right here in
Sure.
Boca, knock on the door, get a meeting,
Correct. Yeah.
with their CEO and say, hey, look, we got distribution immediately,
Right.
right? And we don't have
Yeah.
this type of technology.
So there's been a couple of different companies that have done stuff like this with the thermostats, right? And they say, hey, we'll provide this to you, right? I think FP&L was one of them, did it at one point, right? They said, hey, we'll give you a thermostat, we'll give you a discount on your energy, right? And they said, oh, great, yeah,
I did that
definitely,
in New York
right?
City, actually.
Right.
Con Ed sent me
Okay.
something, and it
Right.
just didn't. And honestly didn't
Right.
work.
You got to get it. One, you got to get it installed, right? So there's some clauses in to get it installed, right? And so maybe they'll install it for you or whatever it is. The second thing is that what FP&L did and some other these air conditioning or these energy companies, what they did is when it was hot outside, right, and the grid needed some relief, right, they had control of your thermostat and you bump it up 1 or 2 degrees, right? Your house was still cool, right? It took a little bit longer, right? But the thing is that the energy, right, consumption on the grid was less, right? Now you got an energy savings, right? But you may have not noticed that your thermostat went up 1 degree, right? And so like some people started complaining. They said, hey, my thermostat keeps changing, right? Why does it keep changing, right? And so that program pretty much stopped, and kind of thing. But 1 degree, right, on your thermostat, right, if you bump it up 1 degree, can change your energy bill drastically, right? Because energy consumption is huge, right? And so, like, I have my house set at 75, right? Whole house, right? Which is crazy because people are like, what? 75 degrees? That's hot, right? It's only hot if it's humid, right? So, because you feel it, right? And so the thing is that energy saving is huge, right? And the consumer wants energy savings. Savings, green, it's a keyword, right? People want to have that energy savings, right? $7 here, $7 there, it adds up, right? And so our system saves 15-25% on your energy bill if you follow our instructions, right? You can do whatever you want. I don't want any control, but partnering with a company like that, I'd love to partner with one of them, right? But it has to be really defined for the consumer, right? That like, hey, you're getting this and this is what you're getting, right? Because I don't want them to think that somebody else has the hand in the cookie jar, right? That's going to send them alerts and
I
notifications.
just would sense ADT would make sense because they're doing
ADT would be great.
Smoke, carbon monoxide
Correct.
detectors, flood detectors, right? So they're already in the appliance zone. And it's an upsell.
Yeah,
that was my
yeah,
first job out
right.
of college, and it was like, hey, for 15 more bucks, smoking carbon monoxide, this is a no-brainer. And people
Yeah.
be like, sure, instead of 35
Right.
bucks, once you get them to sign the dot, 35 versus 50, and yours
Right.
only like it's only $16.99
Correct.
additional, right? And
Correct.
they do the contracts like yours, these
Right.
agreements, so that way.
Yeah.
Cost
I
the
think
individual a lot up front.
for me currently in our current state of our business, right, is that we've just launched, right? And so there's a little bit of that, can I do it on my own, right? I just put all this time, sweat, and equity into it, right? But there's also, that's hiring the expert, getting the contact list, getting the customer list, right? The mailers, all those types of things, right? Adding ons, right? I'm not against it at all, right?
Can your competitors jump into this space, or do you guys have a certain patent that protects you guys?
So we're patent pending on one of our algorithms, right, that produces, and what it's called, I haven't even touched on it, right, it's called our healthy card, right? And our healthy card it takes all the data points throughout the year and it tells you how your unit performed throughout the year, right? It's a score 1 to 100, right? It takes about 1.2 million data points to put that score together. And it'll tell you if your score is above a 60, right? You should fix it next time it fails, right? If it's below a 60, you should replace it, right? So it's that replace versus fix kind of thing, right? There's a lot of different algorithms that go into that whole entire thing, right? Patent pending, right? We have our fingers crossed, but the patent office has not been giving out patents to algorithms recently, so we know what that's going to happen. But the thing is that can our competitors jump into the space? They probably could, right? And they could probably do it quickly and all that kind of stuff, right? But like the problem though is that they sell so many thermostats right now and they make so much money, right, that they would rather sell more thermostats. And that's what I believe, right? That's what I believe, but they could easily get into it, right? And there's some devices out there and there's some people out there that will say that they can do these things, right? And they absolutely can, right? Like we created it, took us years, but we have knowledge, right? And so if one of these big fish came out and said, hey, I really like what you're doing, right? And we want to do it in our business. We want to do our stuff, right? And all that kind of stuff, right? They'd probably be the person that purchases me, right? In the process, right? Which is, I think every entrepreneur's goal is to build the company big and sell it big, right? Eventually one day. I don't have any kids. I don't have anybody in line yet, right? But if the business is doing well and it's growing and I have kids in line and they want to be involved, right? Like I would probably most likely pass it down to them, and that's kind of the way that I want to do it, right? But the thing is that if somebody comes and offers me a big number and it's the right thing for my family, just like my dad did, right? I'm probably going to go down that path.
What would you do what are you doing in terms of marketing to the consumers? What's hot in that area?
Oh yeah, marketing is wild, right? So like I've talked to a lot of different marketing companies, right? And trying to say, hey, how do I do this, right? Should I market it? Should I do ads on Instagram? Should I do ads on Facebook? Ads on Google? The answer is yes, right? You need to do all of that, right? Because you're going to get in front of people that I don't know, right? I only have so many friends, right? That it will sign up and support me, right? But the thing is that I need to be the guy in the middle of Wyoming, right, who I've never met in his vacation home, right, or whatever it is, right, monitoring his house, right, for him. So, and I can notify him when he's not there at all times, right? Something's going wrong with the air conditioning unit, right? I can't get in front of that guy, right? I'll probably never meet that guy, right? But I want him to be able to see the product and understand the product and be able to do it. So marketing is huge, right? We have a bunch of different little crazy kind of things. We have an affiliates program, right? Our affiliates program, you can go on our website, say become an affiliate, right? Sign up, fill out the form, right? We'll go through it. We'll email you and say, hey, be an affiliate, right? You want to promote our product, promote it. We'll give you a discount code, get discounts on the equipment, right? For the consumers who sign up underneath you, we'll give you commission, right? I have absolutely no problem doing that, right? It's ironclad agreement, right? And so we can do that type of marketing. It's just our affiliate program, right? We have another program that's coming out in about a month here, right? It's a just kind of simple way to get ad and marketing space, right? It's going to come out. I'll share it with you guys in a month, right? But I can't share it with you now. It's kind of just a creative way to get in the face of a consumer, right? That you typically wouldn't, and it's a market that's untapped. And so I'm just going to be the first one to do it, and I will share it, and I'll post it, and I'll tag you guys, of course. But it's just one of those things that I just realized, I've run it by a bunch of marketing people. Like, how the heck are we not in that space, right? And so. But they're like, we'll let you demo it first, right? If it works, right, then we'll give you a little bit of royalty. So, so we're working on that, right? And so, but coming up with those ideas, right, are fun.
Well, the first one that comes to mind is the one on 95, like
Right.
the one that's like,
Your wife is hot.
yeah, your wife is hot. So now you're going direct to consumer, right?
Correct. Yeah.
When you're in the corporate lane, it's like you don't have to create these type of ads that are super creative, right? It's just get the job done type of things directly to those corporate environments. So, do you think you'll do influencer marketing, for example, and come up with like some unique, catchy stuff that's like the AC broke and like
right, exactly.
Your wife's upset. Like
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
the your wife is hot slogan, right? It's air around the clock, right? It's a great slogan, right? I'm not trying to plug them at all.
That I use, which is
but no, they're a great company, right? It's a great marketing thing, because every single time I tell somebody, oh, I'm an air conditioning self-filler, they go, oh, are you your wife is hot guy, right? And I was like, no, but
who is? That's a problem.
Right, exactly, right. I know the people, right? They're great people. It's a great company. It's a great residential company, right? And they do commercial as well, but and they're good people and all that kind of stuff, right? So, but no, that's not us, right?
You should make a play against them.
Right. No.
It would be funny.
Yeah. No.
Over across.
Yeah. Actually, something like that happened.
Sure to have it.
So I think there was a one where they did, your wife is hot, and another person did a billboard and said, your wife isn't hot, right? Because you called it. It was a different air conditioning company, right? They got in some battle. I'm going to stay away from it.
I don't think that's trademarked, because I think those are all over the country.
They're all over the country, right? Exactly. Yeah. So it's a thing, but like,
do you have the marketing team, or do you come up with these ideas? How do you do that?
Yeah. So we're a small team, right? And we're small, right? And so we're starting up, right? And we're kind of redoing it all. And so to answer your question, I have a lot of friends that are in this space, right? And I trust them, right? And so I run ideas by them, right? They run air conditioning ideas by me. We kind of share kind of ideas with each other, right? There's I know we haven't even touched on it yet, right? We have a family business networking group that I'm the president of. I'm a co-founder. And
what's hot about that? Yeah. Jump right in.
Ooh, let's get into that. All right. So this is how Jason and I met, actually. But so we have this company. It's called SOB's Sons of Bosses, and it's based down here in South Florida. And what it is a group of guys who work with their family, right? It could be your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, right? It was originally designed to be working with your parent who owns the business, right? And so how do we transition from one generation to the next, right? And just like you had the numbers, right, from first, second, third, fourth generation, how they get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Everybody wants to be that fifth, sixth generation and say, I've done it, right? I've made it past that thing, right? And the thing is that a lot of the times that can happen, right? Different industries allow that to happen, right? And there's other industries that after 2 or 3, right, the business gets so big, somebody comes in and buys you, right? And that's just the way that it is, right? But and then it creates generational wealth, right? Which is everybody's dream, right? And so the thing is that our business, right, what we do is we really try and we have a meeting once a month, right? We have a couple of members present every month, right? I'm covered under an NDA. I can't really talk about any of the details, right? But the thing is that we talk about issues that our family's dealing with, right? I think the general question that we all say is, how do I ask dad for more money, right? Because everybody wants to make more money, right? And the answer we typically get from dad, right, or somebody else is, well, you don't need more money now because one day this will all be yours, right? Yeah, but how do I pay for this company and buy it from you if I don't have any money to do so, right? And so having that kind of conversation and going through it and just the different idea that maybe this guy over here isn't dealing with, right? And this guy is, right? And they collab, right? And we just talk, we have all these different opportunities, right? Is so cool because you get all these different perspectives in different industries, right? And so like we'll share with each other our marketing things like, hey, what are you doing in marketing, right? Okay, sweet. Yeah, like I can do that. We don't compete with each other, right? We try and keep it industry specific, right? There's a couple of people, right, that in the finance world and that kind of stuff, right? Like you just can't avoid it, right? Kind of stuff, right? But I'm the only air conditioning guy in there, right? But even if we had another air conditioning guy that wanted to come in who was a service provider, right, I'd be more than willing to welcome in with open arms, right? Because we're gonna have different ways to collaborate. And so like the marketing is different across different types of people, right? And so like we had the meeting last month and I was actually the presenter, right? And we were going through it all and I can share this information. And I said, how can my system be better for you as the consumer, right? And kind of took that feedback in from these guys that I trust, right? And they're just good, smart guys in the local area, right? And say, hey, what would be better for you, right? And they gave me some feedback and those things, and I've built those into our next rollout or our next different types of things, right? And they said, hey, first question I got from the one guy is, well, how many 5-star reviews do you have, right? And I was like, I don't know, right? None, right? Because we just pre-launched, right? So they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to buy it until you have 100. And I was like, okay, interesting, right? There's a threshold to know, right? So you got to really get that guy on. And he's my friend, right? I was like, I will just give you one, right? If you ask for it, right? I just want you to trust it and write me a 5-star review, please. Right? Exactly. But the thing is that it's one of those things where you have to talk marketing with other people because you're never going to know the perfect way to do it, right? And so you got to put it on a dartboard and just start throwing darts. Eventually, hopefully, one of the programs lands, right? And if that lands and it takes off, it's great. Fortunately for me, I've networked in this community for forever, right? So that's just one of the groups I'm involved in the Orange Bowl committee, right? The Orange Bowl, big football game, right? But what our community and what that organization does is it raises money and then we re-put it back into the local landscape, right? And it's a charity organization, right? A lot of people don't know that, right? But the thing is that you meet some really cool people in that organization, right? CEOs.
So using the nonprofits and the community service is another good way, a hot way of networking.
Correct. Yeah. It's great. You know, it's a community of great leaders in the area, right? And they've gone through it, right? And I'm the youngest guy in the committee actually, but it's from me all the way up to like my grandfather was he was president in '84, right? And he was on the committee all the way up until he passed away, right? And so like you don't really age out, right? Kind of thing, right? So it's really cool. So you got some really cool knowledge and people to deal with, right? And I've partnered with a couple of those people and talked to them, right? And they're just smart people. So yeah, so I've gone through some of my networks and that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, marketing is a tough one, right? Because you don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Sure. Well, Jason, you think we should move on to our next segment here?
Yes, let's take a quick commercial break here from our sponsors, and we get back to Roland's favorite part of the show called Plead the Fifth.
Step into our state-of-the-art innovation lab and create your digital future. Oz uses cutting-edge technology and 22 years of industry knowledge to enhance customer experience through digital innovation in a variety of expertise. Oz is a leading global consulting company whose services and solutions are trusted by startup, midsize, and even Fortune 500 companies. Get to know more about Oz's Salus, a mobile solution bringing us back to max capacity, and their latest solution, Rainmaker, saving insurance companies years of work. To learn more about Oz and their exciting technologies, visit followoz.com. That's FOLLOWOZ.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to this episode. Bob, on this segment of the show is called Plead the Fifth.
Ooh, sounds fun.
So we're going to ask you a question, And if you do not want to answer the question, just say, I plead the fifth.
Okay.
It's a game, right? But you can't do it more than once.
In a row.
Okay. If you do it twice, then of course you're not allowed on FAU campus. That's Roland's rules. Not allowed back there
Bummer.
in the
Okay.
future.
No, that's
Okay,
not.
give me
Change
something
the
good
rules
then.
up. Okay, so let's keep it simple. Which member of SOBs are you just always frustrated with when they're giving a presentation because they're not listening to your guidance? You're giving them such tips and they just don't listen no matter what you tell them to do. They're kind of stubborn.
Gotcha.
Or don't mention that person and say, I plead the fifth.
I can answer
Nah,
that, and
I
I've
got
never
this
been to a
answer.
meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. All right, it's you. Because I'm sure I want to plead the fifth of this guy's question, but the thing is that you're not the most annoying, right? But if that was the question, but the thing is that sometimes you're okay. How do I answer this? Okay, so like when we have our dinners, right? And if Jason's there, right, and I'm not there, Jason orders every single appetizer on the menu, right? That we have to end up paying for, right? Kind of thing, right?
I'm famous over
Right,
there,
right.
Roland. They're all like, Bob's not here.
Bob's not here. Jason,
you want to take control? You want to talk
Right.
to the server? I'm like, sure.
right, exactly. No, so like it's really funny because everybody texts me after the meeting, be like, "Hey, you don't know what Jason just did, but he just ordered 7 of these things," and I was like,
Make him the
I was like,
treasurer of the
The
organization.
funniest part
Goodness,
is I'm like the financial advisor getting
Right.
like the $20-$30 meal and then ordering
Right.
like 2 appetizers, which are like
Right.
$15 each. While
Correct.
other members get 1 meal. And no one's
Right.
picking up on this. It's like a steak and like 3 sides, and it's like $120.
Right.
Technically,
No, it's okay.
I'm the good guy. Just
like
no,
no,
one's-
no,
no
no,
one's
you're
calculating.
good. It's just really fun for us, right? It's that the running joke in the group, Jason. We'll do that every once in a while, but
I can't do that when you're around, though, unfortunately.
no, because I literally just take your menu away. But it's all good. No, it's all fun, and I would say none of those guys there really are don't take the advice, right? Like everybody there is open, right, to understanding what they're not good at, right? And that's kind of you just putting your cards on the table. We had a guy come in and just showed us his financials, right? Like he's like, "Hey, teach me," right? I don't understand, right? And so allowing people, right, to give you different types of guidance, right? There's going to be some people that are hard-headed, right? And they're going to be like, "Okay," but they're also there asking questions, right? Because they know that they're not the best, right, at what they do, but they need some help from some other people who may have been through it before. So it's cool.
So in the family business,
Mhm.
tell us about a time where you had to tell your father he was totally wrong about something, and what was his reaction to that? Or have you done that yet?
I plead the fifth.
We got him. We got
Yeah.
him.
I thought that might.
Yeah. Now there's a couple of things that come to mind, but he's probably listening right now, so we won't bring that up.
Well, we got him.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
I'm not gonna go.
You don't even want to
under
ask
the
about
bus and
the
go
most
twice.
difficult customer.
Ooh, most difficult
You already
customer.
pled the fifth, so you don't have.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
And then you can come back to FAU even if you plead the fifth twice. No,
All right, sounds good. No, I can tell you my most difficult customer. I had a customer that called me, right, and said, "Hey, my air conditioning is not working." Right, and I said, "You have our thermostats." I looked into the data. It works great. And he said, "Well, no, he goes, I turned it down. It's not cooling." I said, "I can see that you turned your thermostat down 4 minutes ago, right? 9 degrees, right? Went from like a 74 set point to 65. He goes, "It's not cooling." So I'm looking at your data, I'm looking at your supplier, and I can see that your unit's cooling correctly, right? It's fine. Like you're good. You don't need a service call. You don't need a guy. It's all working correctly. I don't believe you. I said, "Okay, in 2 hours, I'm going to call you back." Right. And if your thermostat goes down a couple of degrees in that period of time, it may not get down to 65. It's South Florida. It is 100 degrees outside. It's not going to get down to 65. Right. I said, if it's moving down in the right direction, right, then we'll just call it. And right. And you have to give me a testimonial. Right. I said, if it's not, I'll pay for your service call. Mm-hmm. He said, "Okay, deal." Right. I called him back 2 hours later. And I can see the data. I know what's happening. I go, "So you want to give me that testimonial in an email, or do you want him to do a video?" And he's like, can I do neither? And we never talk about this again. I go, every single time I send you an alert, you better do a service call. He said, okay, deal. Right. But that was my biggest issue I had to deal with. Right. But
And this was a commercial.
commercial client. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank you for all the work that air conditioning folks do
Of course.
here in South Florida, because that would be unbearable.
Oh,
And
man.
I'm reminded of a study they did in economics in Louisiana before they had air conditioning. There was a definite correlation between fertility and air conditioning.
Wow.
It kind of tended, birth rates
Yeah.
kind of went up when the air conditioning.
It's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's also crazy. It's also crazy down here when hurricanes come through, right? And hope everybody's safe. And we're about to get into hurricane season. But the thing is that when your power goes out, right? Most people in other parts of the country will be like, I need internet, right? Here, it's I need power and I need air conditioning,
Yeah.
right? Those are the things because it is hot. And so it's a great business to be in, but it's also tough because there's so many people that need it, right? And the price points out there are ridiculous, right? But you pay for what you get, you know. And I will throw it out there. There's some great companies out there, right? We've mentioned a lot of them here on this podcast, but they do great work. And so we want to stay cool. Call an air conditioning company.
Well, Bob, thanks for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank today. Our audience listening, what is the best route if they want to get in touch with you one-on-one or directly?
Sure, yeah. You guys can hit me up an owl, right? That'd be fun, right? We can always do a call. I'm always willing to talk to people, right? And talk about different things, right? You can reach out on our websites. We have HYTECH247.com and we have myhvacsecurity.com, right? There's info pages. You can fill it out, right? And go from there. It'd be great.
Thanks again for joining us, Bob. Everyone listening, be back next Wednesday right around 1 o'clock. Take care.
All right. See you guys.
Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it take a swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Doing big things, chasing big